My parents paid for my best friend and her husband's honeymoon as an apology for my tantrums after the infidelity, but I'll need popcorn when the DNA test results come in. I'd known Ella, 35, since we were children. She was my best friend, the person I trusted most after my family, which, in hindsight, were the very people I should have trusted the least. We did everything together throughout our childhood, and even as adults, we remained inseparable. My parents loved her like a second daughter. She was always welcome in our home, included in family vacations, and treated like part of the family. So she was the last person I expected to betray me in this way. Lucas, my 35-year-old husband, and I had been married for 3 years. I'm not going to tell you our relationship was perfect, but it wasn't a bad one either. We had been together through thick and thin, and I genuinely trusted this man. This happened 6 years ago on our anniversary. It was always a special day for us, and that year I planned a beautiful celebration. I spent a week organizing everything to make sure it was perfect. It was supposed to be a dinner for just the two of us. Ella showed up at our anniversary dinner uninvited. She walked into the restaurant and, in front of everyone, diners and waiters, announced that she had been sleeping with Lucas for a year. I looked at Lucas, expecting him to deny it, to say she was crazy or something, but he just stood there in silence, his face filled with guilt, confirming everything without saying a single word. The betrayal wasn't just that she stole my husband, but that she chose my anniversary to tell me. When I finally mustered the strength to leave the restaurant, I thought my parents would be on my side. I expected comfort, indignation, support. But instead, they greeted me with disappointment. Not towards Lucas or Ella, but towards me. They justified Ella by saying she was always impulsive, that she didn't mean to hurt me. They even defended Lucas, saying that men make mistakes, that it's natural. I was completely alone. My husband betrayed me, my best friend betrayed me, and my parents minimized it and defended them. And worst of all, my parents paid for Ella and Lucas's honeymoon. As an apology for what they called my tantrums and lack of maturity in the situation, they gifted them an all-expenses-paid trip to Europe, treating them like newlyweds while I had just gone through a divorce. It was one of the cruelest things that could have happened to me. My own parents chose Ella over me. They chose the woman who ruined my life over their own daughter. I tried to make them see how much they had hurt me, but it was useless. They didn't understand, or perhaps they didn't care. They kept repeating that I should move on, be happy for Ella and Lucas, and stop making everything about me. They always adored Ella, but in a situation like this, and considering I'm their daughter, I expected something else. I think that's what any normal person would expect. That's why I stopped answering their calls. I couldn't bear to hear their voices blaming me for everything or defending that pair of shameless cheats. Every message from my mother was to tell me how disappointed she was in me, that the mature thing was to let go of the past. But it wasn't for me to stop thinking about it. It was for me to forgive them and accept them. My father sent me short, cold messages telling me to accept reality and stop being resentful. They never asked how I was. They only cared about making sure Lucas and Ella were happy. I saw photos of their honeymoon on social media. My parents commented on every post, telling them how beautiful they looked, how happy they were for them. I blocked everyone. 6 years passed, and life went on. And it was difficult because the betrayal came from all sides, and from everyone. I distanced myself from my parents, from Ella, from Lucas, and from anyone who sided with them. And then everything changed again. A simple DNA test shattered what little stability remained in my family. It all began when my mother decided to confess to Ella a secret she had kept for decades. She told her that my father was actually Ella's biological father. Ella didn't believe it at first, but my mother insisted, saying she had known for years but had kept quiet out of guilt. She had been very good friends with Ella's mother, and my father had had an affair with her throughout his marriage. When Ella was born, my father didn't assume the role of a father, and my mother, feeling guilty, tried to compensate in her own way. She convinced my father to secretly provide for Ella and her mother. They helped them buy a house in our neighborhood. She made sure Ella attended the same school as me. She kept her in our lives under the guise of generosity, while my mother carried the guilt of knowing the truth but refusing to expose my father's infidelity. Ella, still skeptical, decided to get a DNA test. When the results came in, everything fell apart. My father didn't deny anything. He didn't even try to defend himself. My mother broke down, saying she had been trapped in that secret for decades and had done her best. Ella was furious, but not because she had been lied to, but because she felt used. She wasn't angry with my father, but with my mother for not telling her the truth sooner. But here's the crazy part. She was angry with me for having had a better childhood, for being the daughter my father publicly acknowledged. She directed all her rage toward me, as if I had anything to do with that story. I told her if she was angry with me, I didn't care, that it was her karma for being a bitch. My entire family suddenly exploded. Accusations, resentments, and secrets buried for decades all came to light at the same time. All while I sat back and watched the situation unfold from a distance. Now it explained why they supported my ex-best friend so much. They were guilty of everything they had been hiding for years. My mother's affection for Ela was never really out of friendship, but out of guilt. My father didn't defend Lucas to keep the peace or whatever. He defended him because Lucas was a younger version of himself. The family disintegrated. My mother and father barely spoke to each other. Ela began demanding that my father compensate for lost years, claiming he owed her for the time she spent without a father figure. My father, always prone to avoiding conflict, suddenly acted as if he'd always wanted to be present in Ela's life. He started giving her everything she asked for. My mother resented him for it, despite being the same person who covered up that truth for so long. My mother didn't stop looking for me, writing to me, calling me, begging for my forgiveness. My mother lost a daughter by initially supporting her cheating husband. But when I asked her why she had told the truth now, after so many years, she said she couldn't bear it anymore. Now my father and Ela are forming a bond, and my mother is being excluded. Ela doesn't forgive my mother because she sees her as the villain for being the messenger or whatever, while my father isn't speaking to my mother for letting all this out. As for me, I feel nothing for my mother. She chose Ela 6 years ago, and there's nothing that can turn back time. Edit. I don't know anything about Lucas right now. All I know is through my mother. I haven't even spoken to my father or Ela again. Update 1. These past few months, I've been completely estranged from my immediate family, meaning my father, my mother, and my half-sister, born from an affair, and with values that mirrored the circumstances of her birth. Even so, I still have contact with another part of the family, and that part of the family tells me things. Things that are happening with something new in the family. The discovery of the product of my father's infidelity. Ela wasted no time in claiming her place as my father's true daughter. She embarked on a mission to take everything she could from him. His money, his time, his attention. And my father, who for decades pretended she didn't exist in that way, suddenly became the devoted father she had always wanted. He began introducing her to the extended family with a certain pride. They took trips together, spent holidays together, and he even changed his will to include her. My mother broke down. They somewhat patched up their relationship with my father, but it hurt her that he rubbed the infidelity in her face and made her look like the poor woman who was cheated on in front of everyone. I think my father did it on purpose, as punishment for opening her mouth. She had spent her entire life carrying the weight of my father's infidelity, and now she had to watch the daughter of that infidelity continue to hurt her. She kept trying to contact me, trying to make me feel guilty so I would come back to the family, but I had no interest in doing so, especially knowing the kind of family storm I'd be stepping into. No thank you. Too many idiots for me to get close to. Ela got exactly what she wanted. She had all of my father's attention, his money, and the validation she had sought her entire life. But even that wasn't enough for her. She wanted more. She wanted the perfect family that had been denied to her growing up because she never had a father. And when she didn't get that, she also turned against my father. She accused him of never having truly loved her, of acknowledging her only out of guilt. She reproached him for choosing to stay with my mother all those years instead of assuming his role as a father. In her eyes, my father should have left my mother and formed a family with her mother. She also wanted revenge, and she got it. She told my mother everything, every detail of the romance, every time he lied to her, every promise he made to Ela's mother, all things she learned when she confronted her own mother. She painted a portrait of a man who was never truly loyal to anyone, and my mother, already broken by everything that had happened, finally collapsed. But the destruction didn't end there. My father, feeling betrayed by Ela's accusations, cut her off completely. The very woman he had gone above and beyond for, the daughter he had finally acknowledged, became just another person who turned against him. If we had a family motto, it would be, loyalty is secondary, betrayal comes first. He revoked the changes to the will and stopped speaking to her entirely. Ela, furious, unleashed her rage against both parents. She blamed my father for ignoring her, blamed her mother for settling for so little. And she blamed my mother because, well, she was an easy punching bag for everyone. She has also blamed me, though I'm not sure why, but I don't care because that family isn't my family anymore. She has even blamed her husband, saying he likes to date both sisters, or something like that. That's why he was with both of us. I don't know what to think. You married your best friend's husband. Values were not included in that deal. The extended family doesn't know whose side to take in all of this. They've asked my opinion. My answer is, I'm staying out of it. Some support my mother, saying she had been humiliated enough and deserved better. Others pity my father, arguing that he tried to be a father to both daughters, even if the situation wasn't ideal for anyone. And then there are those who sympathize with Ela, believing she was robbed of the life she should have had. Thinking about it now, everything they did 6 years ago, which led me to distance myself, was a great favor to me. I'm viewing this from as far away as possible, even though they try to drag me into this mess. It's like they think, no, you should be suffering with us too. But I'm fine from here, watching everyone burn. Ela also sought me out. She tried to contact me with messages to convince me that we were both victims of my father's selfishness. But one of my responses to her attempts was, "I've been a victim of you and my parents, but you're just getting karma for sharing my husband. If she thinks I'm going to feel sorry for her or be like my mother, she's mistaken. She's alone in this because I don't think my ex-husband is a reliable person. As for my father, he never contacted me once. He simply went on with his life, which I think is fine, because at least he's not trying to make me share his pain or whatever. Good for him, the most responsible thing he's done in a long time." Update 2. Yes, I got married. I think after so many years I deserve to be happy again. My new husband knows about my family, but in our years of dating and engagement, he has never met them. I prefer to keep my husband away from my family and my ex-best friend. I think it's much better. But a few weeks ago, I heard from my mother again. I guess she found out I was getting married. Someone must have told her, but honestly, I have no idea who because I didn't want to share that news with her. I wanted to avoid drama days before my wedding, although the possibility of them finding out was high. Many people are invited, family members, and even though I've told them to keep it a secret, you know how it is. Her poor attempts at contact, because she found new ways to contact me, were to play the victim. She said things like, "I can't believe you're not inviting me to your wedding. This is your big day and I should be there." My only response was, "Just look at me now and see how much I care that you're not at the wedding." This woman acts like I owe her something. Look, I know she's my mother, and many people say you should always make room for family on important days like this, but for me, that simply wasn't an option. There's too much history between us, and the truth is, her actions over the years have made me feel betrayed, ignored, and unsupported. Chris, my now husband, is fine with my mother not being at the wedding. He knows that this wedding is not the place to try and fix things, if I even wanted to fix them, which I don't. So no drama and no family members I hate, but my mother doesn't take no for an answer. My wedding day arrived, and everything was going beautifully. The ceremony was perfect. The reception was exactly as we had dreamed, and I was surrounded by the people I wanted to be there. But in the middle of it all, my mother showed up. She tried to get past the security guard at the entrance, and when he stopped her, she started making a scene. She was shouting, crying, even tried to emotionally manipulate him into letting her in. She told him she was the bride's mother, that she couldn't miss this big day. Meanwhile, the poor guard didn't know what to do other than tell her that if she wasn't on the list, she couldn't come in. I could hear her from inside the hall. I went with my husband to the entrance, and there she was. At this point, I hadn't seen her in a long time, so she looked different to me. What we decided to do was call the police because she refused to leave, and she was finally escorted out of the venue. After that, I just wanted to move on. The day hadn't gone completely as I expected, but I did my best to enjoy it. I wanted to forget the drama and focus on my new life with Chris, but it wasn't over. I was exhausted by everything that had happened, but we finally managed to get on the plane and go on our honeymoon. Chris and I had looked forward to that trip more than anything. It was our time to relax and start our new chapter as a married couple. But my mother wasn't finished. Oh no. While we were on our honeymoon, she wasted no time. She spent the entire week talking to other people about how I didn't let her into my wedding, how I was a horrible person for not having my mother at my wedding, and how I was untrustworthy because no decent person would do that. I received some messages from people telling me this, and my response was always, "Don't bother me, I'm on my honeymoon. I don't know what my mother wants." If she's looking for a daughter, she should go adopt her husband's affair child, the one she treated more like her own than she ever did me. She showed me what kind of mother she was to me when she defended the infidelity over me, and she did it again when she decided to forgive her husband, putting the affair child above her own daughter until now. Now I've returned from my honeymoon, and if she thinks that with everything she did, I'll give her another chance, she's sorely mistaken. I think I'll spend the rest of my life hating her, as I will my father and Ella. Perhaps not actively hating them, but keeping them as far away as possible. And speaking of Ella, she's getting divorced. I can't tell you anything more because I really don't know more than that. It's all quite new, so I won't have any other information for a while. Update 3. My mother filed for divorce from my father, and to be honest, I didn't see it coming. They had many problems over the years, but I thought she would stay in that marriage forever. I mean, this woman forgave him for an infidelity with her best friend, brought the mistress and the daughter to live nearby, and even managed to make us friends. All that was missing was for her to help him bury a body in the middle of the night in the woods to show her complete devotion and loyalty. But relationships are complicated, and there comes a time when everything completely falls apart, and you can no longer pretend that everything is fine. My mother was unhappy, but I never thought she would do anything about it. After filing for divorce, she left the house. At first I didn't know where she was, but soon I learned she was staying in a motel. As far as I know, she had no plan, no money, and nowhere to go. All her things were still in the house, and she was living with just the basics. Until she showed up at my house with a suitcase that, according to her, was all she had. She wanted to tell me that she had left my father, that she had left my half-sister, and that now was the time for us to unite, because we had both been affected by these same people, and we needed to be strong, to be together. I told her that what we needed was for her to leave, or I would call the police because I didn't want to form any kind of team with her, better alone than in bad company. My mother didn't take that well because she expected her grand gesture of leaving my father would make me accept her. It was a big gamble on her part, and it backfired. What a shame. She kept telling me, "Don't you feel sorry for your mother, who is all alone and has nowhere to go? I can't keep paying for a motel anymore. I know I've hurt you, but this is a new beginning for us. I want to meet your husband, maybe my grandchildren when they're born, and I want us to rebuild everything your father destroyed." Those words really got to my heart, and I was about to cry because that's all I wanted from a mother, to act like one. So I replied, "You can stay while I call the police to have them remove you. You failed excuse for a human being." I don't know what part of her rotten brain thought that just because she's suffering now, I would accept her. Where was she when I was suffering? Oh, right, defending her cheating husband, his other daughter, and rubbing it all in my face. She can go look for pity elsewhere, not at my door, not in my life, and not with absurd nonsense like she cares about me, my husband, or my future children. If she thinks I'll let her near my husband or my future family, she must have a giant brain tumor from when my father started cheating because that's the only way she could think like this. In the end, I didn't have to call the police because she left on her own. She turned around and walked away, and I closed the door behind her. Then I looked through the peephole to see if she had really left or was still standing there, but she did. Though a couple of times she turned around to see if I would open the door again. You already know that didn't happen. As for my father, he made a pathetic attempt at contact, straight out of my mother's playbook. He asked other relatives about me, an attempt to smooth things over for what might be a more direct contact. "But this isn't my first rodeo, Dad. I know what you're trying, and it's not going to work. Look, Mom tried the ultimate trick, showing up at my house with a suitcase so I'd break down and let her stay with me, and she ended up thrown out and making a pathetic fool of herself. And before I go, what I know about Ella has divorced Lucas. Ella reportedly left him when Lucas couldn't take the family drama anymore. According to family gossip, she screamed at him, 'You need to support me more in all of this. Don't you know I'm the one suffering?' And he replied, 'I'm tired of your family and all your drama.' So she served him with papers, and it ended not long ago. Another ruined love story. I correct myself. Another ruined infidelity story. Update 4. Finally, my family is reaching that familiar tranquility. Not because everything has been resolved and we're all well, but that tranquility where everything is still messed up, but at least they're not bothering me anymore. My parents have divorced, and they both had to sell the family home so they could each buy something of their own. My mother isn't homeless. I know how much some of you worried about that after, according to some people, I treated my mother so badly in my previous update. In my opinion, I gave my mother VIP treatment for what she deserved. By family standards, the divorce has been amicable. My mother thinks my father is an unrepentant, cheating bastard who would sleep with anything that moved if it were legal. And my father thinks my mother is unhinged, that menopause has made her bitter and stubborn, and that's why she can't tolerate an infidelity after years of doing so. See? Super amicable. For what we're used to, those are words of affection and endearment between my parents. Do you know what I recently discovered about Ella? She tried to sue my father for child support, even though he had supported her and her mother for years. Ella argued that it didn't officially count as child support, but my father proved that it did, and he didn't have to give her a single cent. In other headlines from this newspaper called "The Hilarious Craziness of My Family," Ella might have also been unfaithful to Lucas during this time. There are no sources to confirm it, so the journalistic integrity of this newspaper leaves a lot to be desired, but it's up to my family's standards, so everything's normal. My father made an attempt to speak with me. He sent me a message from one of his friend's phones, saying how he used to call me and asking if we could meet up, maybe do something together. But I had something in mind that we could do together, which surely wasn't what he was thinking. Forget that the other exists. Message read and not replied to by my father. End of the problem, and also end of my story, because if it wasn't clear, I want nothing to do with them.